Welcome to a Leader's Journey podcast. I'm your host, Joel Gunn.
Well, joy, as it's defined in Scripture, is gladness. It's enthusiasm, a sense of freedom, and I'm enjoying, what I'm doing. And that's kind of individual in terms of, what does that look like? But when I meet with execs, and like when we do retreats, I just had an abide retreat with CEOs and their spouses. And a question that I ask every one of them, are you enjoying what you're doing in your company? The answer was universally no.
Wow.
And it was, okay, why? Different reasons. I'm really tired. And his wife would say, I never see him much because he's working too much. He comes home and he works. He works on weekends. I have one guy that says, there's things that aren't working, so I step in and do them. And I'm tired. Or the pressure of success, of trying to succeed in this very difficult market is hard. Or I just had a customer who defaulted on their receivable, and I have financial trouble, and I'm really under the gun financially, and I'm burdened by that. And so, no, I'm not enjoying it. And so I say to them, well, do you understand that God is giving you the privilege of enjoying your work? And they said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, if you were an employee, by the way, the same question still applies to them. And I say that to people that are working for somebody else. Are you enjoying your work? And if the answer is no, it's usually around, is it because of how you're functioning yourself? Or is it because you're in a company with a lousy culture, or a boss that, is not caring about you and just making you do things that you don't want to do, or overworking you? I said, okay, either one or two things have to happen. Is that if it's your heart, God has to work on that and show you a different way of functioning. Or if it's the company, either he's going to remove that boss or change that company, or he's going to have you leave the company. But don't decide it, just go seek it. But as a leader, you don't work for anybody else. You run the show. So why are you not structuring everything around you enjoying what you do and who you are? And there's no reason for you to overwork ever, quite frankly, by the way. So I've worked with CEOs of billion-dollar companies, and I ran a $750 million division, and I know I could work 24/7. So yeah, I know, but I didn't. Why? Because I learned how to have joy in what I was doing, and it really is around. And we talked last time about strategic initiatives. We have clarity about that, and we feel good about that. That's the first piece of the joy, is that I have a sense that we're headed in the right direction, and we feel good about heading in that right direction. By the way, if you don't, you haven't got there yet, and you got to go back and revisit that. But let's say you do. Okay, now it's how do I structure my company so that I don't overwork, I create margin, I have the privilege of it. And so what do I like doing, and what am I good at? So let's say somebody is really good at meeting with customers, but lousy in finance. Okay. Well, I'll spend a little bit more time in meeting with customers, particularly big ones, and I'll hire the very best CFO I can bring in that can do all of that stuff. And all I care about, it's kind of funny, all I care about is, are those numbers right? And when you bring those numbers and things are different than we thought, can you help me understand them? If I have somebody like that, and literally, I mean, it wouldn't happen this way, but because he'll be part of my weekly team. But if I only met with that guy once a month, are the numbers right? And can you help me understand if that's what he did, think about how little time I need to spend with that guy. Because why? I trust him. He's super competent. When the numbers prove to be right, like he says, hallelujah, as opposed to he brings the numbers and we find all kinds of mistakes. Like, wait a minute. Why? Well, probably that's the wrong guy. See? And so as a executive, particularly the owner of a company or CEO of a company, I've got the privilege of putting the right people in the right spot, expecting excellence. One, I hire excellence. I hire people with their not egotistical, that have a heart to join the team and be part of the team, but are faithful and really good at implementing what we agree to do. And I don't worry about that piece of it because they are honest and have integrity. I'm going to do this next week. They do it. And they do it with excellence. And I know that. So think about that. They agree to do it. They do it, and they do it with excellence. My only question, what happened? And we together come together based on what happened. Okay, now what? See, and I don't worry about that. I don't micromanage. I don't ever step in and do their work. And if you are, or if you have people that either aren't doing what they say they're going to do, or they just don't have the competency to do it, which happens a lot, which is okay. What I do is say, well, you're in the wrong spot, and either can we put you somewhere else, or because of our company and what we need, you can't seem to have the competency for it. Let me help you out the door so that you can go find something else that would fit you better and you would enjoy it better. By the way, ultimately, when you do that, you find that person is actually relieved because they know they're not cutting it. And they're in the wrong spot, or they just can't get there. There's something about what they either understand or don't have that they just can't get there. They actually would rather be somewhere else. So when I talk about joy, it's really related to my margin that I create so that I can be with my kids and my wife and other things that I'm doing. And you have the privilege of it. Why would you not? See? And if you're working too much, it's generally related because you don't have the right people in the right spot to be able to carry out their part of the structure and the activities with competency and with diligence, so that I don't ever micromanage any of them, and I'm not stepping in and doing their work because they're not competent. So it's having the right people in the right spot, not accepting mediocrity. And when you get a superb team, what I call a player team, that fits you, like for example, as I was going through leadership and running things, owning things, heading up things, I knew something about me. And that is that the people around me had to have high intelligence because the things we were going to do had some, let's say, complexity to them. And if they couldn't keep up, that became a burden on me personally. And not because it's good or bad, it's just I didn't do well with people that didn't have high intelligence. And that was on me. Guess what? I'm the leader. Okay, well then I hired high intelligent people. Even, by the way, and I hire interns to do things because they're great at taking off detail. When I went to get an intern from a local college, guess what? I hired 4 O's. That was the criteria. That's number one criteria. Number two then is, do you have a good heart? Are you willing to take direction? Are you willing to put the work in? Are you going to enjoy participating? I want you to speak up. We then carried out those things. But I started with that first criteria because I know something about me. I don't work well with having to re-explain everything to everybody. I personally, and that's a flaw of mine. Okay, but I have the privilege of being a leader. So I'm going to structure it around who I am. See, I'm going to get the right people in the right spot and then expect them so that literally, and this is what I tell executives, I said, your goal as the owner executive is to do nothing. And they said, what do you mean do nothing? I said, here's what I mean. You're doing no activity per se. You're managing people and processes of helping them prioritize. I don't have to worry about competency and execution because I've hired that in and evaluated that. We are working on joint decisions. And then since I learned how to delegate really well, I'm doing no work per se. So what I do then is work on, and by the way, as a CEO or a leader of a company, is I elevate the type of things I work on. Like, for example, I'm part of this company, a board of a $200 million, manufacturing company, and they have a CEO and executives. I tell them, you as a group, don't even think about any decision that's under $10 million. It's other people in the company will do that, but you guys think $10 million, $20 million, $50 million. Those are the things you should be thinking about. And particularly you CEO, you start looking downstream of, I'm going to go look for bigger customers. I'm going to go look maybe for an acquisition. I'm going to be looking for a technology that we can really get good at. And I'm going to be spending some time doing that because why? I have the time to do it. And there's no rush to it because it's very long term, but I'm occupied with big things. And mostly if I have a good team that is learning how to receive delegation, and I'm managing that well, I've got all kinds of free time. And if I'm every day, I'm doing spreadsheets or I'm doing this or I'm doing that, something's off. And I'm consumed because either I don't have somebody doing that. And by the way, there's one other element. This is interesting as an owner. And I talk through them and they talk about what they're doing. And I'll look at them and I'll say, it seems to me you're kind of greedy. And they'll say, what do you mean by that? I'll say, well, you need this position in your company. It's obvious. Why? Because you're doing it. And you're spending all your energy doing this thing. You need that position in your company. And the reason you're not doing it is because it's going to cost you something. And you want that money. But to me, time is way more valuable. And by the way, if you structure it properly, you'll spend more now. You're going to get that back downstream because you'll be able to support the growth that you're going to achieve. And you're actually going to wind up with more money. Long term, it's just the short term that you're not. And so you're kind of greedy. I'm not going to bring that person in because then I'll have less money. So what? Isn't joy more important than that? And so so when I work with CEOs, I really help them not only with the strategy, accountability process that we talked about, but it's you personally. I'm going to help you start to structure what you're doing so that you enjoy it. And enjoyment would look like you're not overworking, you're spending evenings with your family, with your wife, you're spending weekends with your family and your wife, you're taking trips, you're doing vacations, and literally a couple weeks away where you get away and you let the company function without you. And you aren't calling every day and you're not having somebody report in every day. You actually take the break that God says Sabbath you need. And by the way, you have the privilege of it. Why would you not? Yep. I help them structure to that point. And it's hard because they're used to, well, I'm occupied in this business and I can't not do it. I've got to help them understand, yes, you can. Let's try it out. Let's move in that direction. And when they start to get freedom, they start to realize, oh, how cool is this? I said, yeah, you have a of structuring it because you're the guy that structures it. Why would you put up with anything less? So it's kind of fun too. That actually, I would say I spend as much time helping people reach joy as I do in helping them strategize their business decisions.
Yeah, probably more.
Yeah.
Because it's just something that leaders don't think about.
No, and they've accepted that. I'm an owner. This is what an owner does. An owner has to be consumed by the business, and everybody says that is. And by the way, even as we deal with places like Convene and C12, they reinforce it with each other. Now they talk about balance and all this stuff, but when you really get down to it, it's an illustration by the simple answer is, are you enjoying what you're doing? And they kind of know, they really know, yeah or no. Generally, the answer is not really. And then I say, okay, let's start to process that. Do you understand that's God's will for you? Well, yeah, but no, that's God's will for you. So let's move in that direction. I can assist you, not because I know answers, but I know who does know the answers. And there's things of competency, the right people in the right spots. Don't be greedy. Value time, and then have a process with that executive team that is very, very enjoyable and is one that allows you not to overwork, and particularly to step in and be doing activity or work that somebody else should be doing.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of A Leader's Journey podcast. If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to our channel.